Hey folks, it's Frithgar here, how you doing? I have done much mowing. We have done all the way around field 13, I've done quite a bit. There's a little triangle here that I've done. Plus we did all the stuff over there, I finished off. I can't remember if I actually moved over to here at the end of the last episode or not. But I have done lots. There's a biogas plant over there. I'm just going to go drive back to the farm. And I did think that, you know, maybe I would... I've taken a few machines back to the yard, and I did think that I'd take this one back and get the rake and everything set up, but then I thought, well, no, because mostly we're going to be raking this episode. But I thought I would drive up this way so that you can just take a look, because we've never actually driven up along this road and approached the town from the back here like this. So we'll take a drive up through the town, and... I don't think we've got any eggs to sell at the moment, so we won't worry about that. But we will stop off at the chickens and we will collect any eggs that are there to be collected. And then we can head back to the yard, unhitch these mowers and get the rake on. And there was something else that I want to talk to you about today. I have been talking for the last few days about leasing the silage equipment, so as it's going to be a one-time use. Now, I did lease the tree planter, and I've also leased the quad bike, and I will pay for the quad bike as soon as we got the money, because we sort of leased that one as a trial, whereas the other is, if it's a one-time thing, it wouldn't be out of the way that we would lease the equipment, you know, rent it, whatever you want, so that we would do the job. But then if we would do more than that, we would buy them. But I've had a couple of people say that, well, actually, hang on a minute, Frith, you promised, you said, right, hang on, before I do that though, my question for this week, and then we'll get into it. I'm going to be making a load of silage, and once it's all into the biogas plant, I want to know, how do you want me to spoon it into the digester, into the big the mixer there? Do you want me to use the Kramer that we've got and a bucket? I'll get a bigger bucket. I don't know which one it will be. Maybe the manure fork or something like that. I don't know. Maybe even a bigger one. I reckon we go up to even 5 tons in a bucket. And then just keep spooning it in like that. Or would you rather I used conveyor belts? I would buy or lease conveyor belts. Probably buy them. A set of conveyor belts would be one of those, and possibly 2 of those. I'm not sure how many we'll need. And then we'll just have a continual stream running from the silage clamp into the digester to get all of our money. So it's your vote, it's your game. Head into the comment section down below, let us know which one you want and why, see if you can persuade others to vote for the same. And of course, don't forget to actually cast your vote in the top right hand corner up there. So let me just gather up the eggs. Yeah, so I had a few people say that I promised that on this map I would only buy things, I wouldn't lease things. And you've got a point. I did say that I would only buy things, I wouldn't lease things. And then on Goldcrest I would only lease things, I wouldn't buy things. But we've kind of moved away from that a bit. And I would like to sort of justify my reasons for moving away from those hard and fast rules. Because I kind of feel that these 2 series at the moment are to establish how the long-term gameplay works in FS17, and what's viable and what isn't viable. Now, we found out in Goldcrest that we really can't lease everything. It's just not, it just doesn't pay. So we've had to change our policies on there so that we lease all machinery, but anything that can be driven, we buy. And that seems to be working. We seem to be able to make money doing it that way. However, on here, I did say I would buy everything, and so far I've leased a tree planter, and I've leased the bike. And now I'm talking about leasing some more equipment. And I would ask sort of for a little flexibility on this series and the Goldcrest one, it sort of, well, just so that we can establish how things work, because I could go and buy it. I'm not saying that I won't go and buy it. I'm quite capable of going and buying it. It'll mean doing a couple more missions off screen. But other people have pointed out that by constantly doing missions off screen, it's a little bit cheesy, really, because at the beginning of every episode, or beginning of each week, I've got a big pile of money and I buy a whole load of machinery because I've done a load of missions, and it almost feels like I'm not sort of playing the game properly because I'm relying so heavily on missions to provide me with money. And I'd like to achieve a happy medium. I'd like to get a balance between the 2. So I'm going to go for the option of leasing machinery if we plan to only use it once. If we're going to use it more than once, we will buy it. And I will still do missions now, in between episodes, but now that we've got our tractor, we've got the majority of the big stuff that we want. There's a couple of other big things that we will get, but I'm hoping that we'll be able to use sort of some of the silage money and stuff like that in order to get those, so we won't be so reliant on doing lots and lots of missions. You know what, I think we will clean these before we put them away. Let me just stop right there. So, yes, because we're not going to be quite so heavily reliant on doing the missions, I think that that would be a bit more of a balance, and then we will lease the machinery if we have to do a one-off. I will state that in future series, what I'm going to do is I'm going to we're going to lay out the ground rules for the series at the beginning. Now that we sort of we have a deeper understanding of how the leasing and everything works and how it affects the long-term gameplay, what I'm going to do is when we start a new series, I will ask you a number of questions about the time scale that you want the map run on, how many missions you think I should be allowed to do, and a few other things like that to sort of give us a limit on what we can and can't do with the series. And once those rules are established, so, you know, will you want me to never lease anything, only lease things as a one-off, lease when we feel like, those kind of rules. Once we've established what those will be in future series, I will not deviate from those rules. Those rules will be hard and fast rules that cannot be deviated from. That is a solemn promise. But I feel at the moment that these the episodes that we're doing here in Sosnovka and Goldcrest are better served and better advanced if we don't sort of really have absolute hard and fast rules like that just yet. And so I'm hoping that everybody sort of is in agreement on that and is quite happy with how I've decided to do things. So today we're going to go and do some raking. I'm going to go back over to where I first met you today, and unfortunately you can't lower these down before you unhitch them. You've got to drop them. I said this last time, and I don't like it. I don't like that at all. It's just, yeah, that little tiny bit there. To do the raking, we really should put this thing away. I won't now. I'd like to get on and do the raking. I don't think we actually need to have our front weight on to do the raking. I think it would actually be better off if we just left the front weight behind for this task. Sometimes you don't want the front weight on the tractor. You don't want it being pulled down like that. And for lighter equipment, it is actually better if you don't have it, because the front weight is designed to compensate for weight on the back of the machine. And if you use the front weight unnecessarily, it can add to... it can apply strain on the steering mechanisms of the tractor and shorten the lifespan of all of the front joints and everything on the tractor. So you should only use it when you absolutely need to use it. So I'll head back up over, we'll go through the town, and I will meet you out the other end, and we can start raking the last stuff that we mowed yesterday. We'll start off with this little triangle that we've got right here next to field 7. If I show you the bigger map a minute, there we go. So you can see us right in the top left-hand corner, sorry. We've got a little triangle there, and then we've got a load round field 13, and then all the way down at the left-hand side of the map, we've got a whole load of grass down there that we've done as well. And let's unfold this rake. I didn't think it was worth getting a bigger rake. It would have been nice, but the cost of a bigger rake, I couldn't actually justify getting that for our operation here. What you would do as a farmer is, when you are looking at purchasing new machinery or even leasing new machinery, you have to do a simple cost and effect analysis, so or an analysis of cost effectiveness. And basically what you're looking at is it worth me getting this gear? Is it worth me doing it like that? Do I want to spend that money, or if I spend that money, am I going to be able to earn that money back before I've finished with the equipment? If I can't earn that money back, then it's not worth getting it. If I can earn the money back, then it's worth it. You know, it might be worth getting. Which is going to give me the bigger profit, the big machine or the small machine? And if you sort of like analyze the cost and the expenses of each piece of machinery like that, you can end up with a very effective and efficient business, because you'll find that there's quite a few machines that you often think, oh, I could really do that, but in actual fact it's not worth the money. It is absolutely not worth the spending the extra money on the upgrades. Well, sorry about that. I just had a sneezing fit for some particular reason, or no particular reason. It's not dusty in here or anything like that. Maybe I'm coming down with a cold, who knows. So yeah, you analyze all your costs and everything, and you then look to see if it would be effective. So for this operation, I didn't want to have to use a self-propelled forager. I thought that it wouldn't be worth it, and if I wasn't able to find a suitable forager that could be trailed and so was quite cheap, I would have looked at the cost of getting a slightly bigger forage wagon than the one that we've got right now, because the small one that we've got really isn't worth running backwards and forwards so many times. Yeah, if I could get a bigger one than that, it would have been worth it. But fortunately, we managed to find that John Deere trailed forager, so we didn't need to worry about having to use a forage wagon. I was quite pleased about that, because I don't want to use a forage wagon for everything I do. Right, I'm actually going to mess up this row a little bit. I was kind of hoping that I would get everything in there. I am making an absolute pig's ear of this job. Look at that. Right, hopefully, there we go. Right, I've got all of that. Now, if we come up here, we've got one strip down the side of this field that we can rake up. And then there's a couple, we'll have to do 2 passes around the field there to get all of that bit out. And I came all the way up here. There's a load of trees there that we would eventually like to get rid of. The one thing that I am still looking out for, back in FS15 we had a mod that would allow us, it would go on the front of the tractor and it would allow us to cut down and instantly chip any tree. So we didn't have to worry about cutting these down with a chainsaw and then cutting them up in order to move them, because there's one thing that I didn't find particularly enjoyable with the game is cutting up those trees, because you can't automate it. You've just got to use a chainsaw, and it's so painfully slow. So what I was hoping is I'd be able to find some way of dealing with those trees in this new game that we can at least partially automate the process. Whether we could cut the trees down and then drag them to a central location and put them through a big chipper, something like that, I'm not sure. But when we buy fields 23 and 25, I think it is, just bring the map up a second, come down, I'm trying to just make sure that I get this lined up right. Yeah, so yeah, 23 and 25, there is a line of poplar trees down between those 2 fields, and I would like to be able to remove those poplar trees and join the 2 fields together. However, we can't do that with any kind of automation, and I don't really want to have to do the whole thing with chainsaws, because it took long enough to move 2 poplar trees off the end of our farm. I don't know if you remember, we did those 2 right close to the yard so that we could expand field... Is it field 12 that we expanded? No, field 19. We expanded field 19, and so we removed those 2 poplar trees back when we first did that. And that took absolutely ages. I had to do quite a lot of that off screen. And it did take a long time to do, so I'm hoping to try and avoid doing that, but at the same time I would really like to join 23 and 25 together. So I'm on the lookout for a mod that would allow us to do that, but one that's more realistic, because the one that we used in FS15 I didn't think it was very realistic. I used it quite a lot in the time-lapse series. However, I am the first to admit that that was completely an unrealistic mod, and I didn't want to use anything like that again if I could help it. So yeah, I'm on the lookout, but I'm not going to be using one like that wood chipper that I used last time. And right, I am going to have to come up through here twice. I was actually thinking we could use the GPS mod over there to gain maximum efficiency from our raking. So we'll go around here a couple more times. And I might actually just finish this field a minute, and then we could go over there and we could set up the GPS mod to use it. We won't get all the raking done on camera today, but I will get it all finished before next week. And then at the start of next week, we're going to be leasing the John Deere. And what I'm thinking is that we will probably put the Kirovits on the forager, and Yeah, I think so. If we put the Kirovits onto the forager, well, I suppose we could actually put the Zeta on the we could put the Zeta on the forager, and then have this tractor here doing the roadwork. I think the Zeta would be able to pull it. It's got to be able to pull the trailer, but there's not that many hills that we've cut here. It's mostly flat ground, so the Zeta should be able to go up and down the hill, and then we can unhitch the trailer off of the forager, and then this tractor can run it back to the yard. I know that we're using the IT runner. What I'd like to do in a future series, someone has suggested, I've actually had this suggested by a couple of people now, is basing the whole farm around the IT runner. And when we're doing something like silage, we have one of the Tatra Phoenix hook lift lorries, and basically the chap in the field, he goes around and he'll fill up the container and he'll drop it beside the on the edge of the field, and then he'll pick up the next container and he'll go around again and he'll do that. And when you've done that a couple of times, you then have the IT runner, and there's a Tatra Phoenix hook lift. You hook lift one onto there, and then you have the IT runner trailer on the back as well, and you hook lift that one up, and then you take both of those back and back to the clamp, and you empty them both out. So I thought that would actually be quite a cool way of doing it. So I will look at how we can do that efficiently in a future series, and we'll base one of our farms in the future completely around the IT runner. We will do everything we possibly can with an IT runner and a lorry to go with it. So it's either going to be a Tatra Phoenix that will do it, which is also equipped with a hook lift, or there's a man truck available as well that has a hook lift attached to it. And so we'll look at those. Right, I'm going to finish going around this field now, and when I have raked all of this field up, we will then go down the sides of those fields over there next to us, which is all the way down the left-hand side of the map, and we'll have a look at getting the GPS mod running and see if we can efficiently rake up those rows into as few passes as possible. I'll just get set up along this top end here, I think, and I'm going to do these short runs first along here, and we'll set the GPS going with it. So it's back up like this and move over a little bit, I think. Now, before I start on the GPS, I will quickly go to the shop and I will double check what the actual width of this rake is, so that we can be absolutely right. 9.3 meters. So we want to set the GPS to 9.3. So it's left control and 0 on the keypad, and then the full stop on the keypad as well to bring the second bit up. We go auto select, and that's come to 9.6. So I will just nudge that back down to 9.3 meters. There we go. Get that one going. Now, if I look up through, and right, I reckon about there is straight. Let's go over a little tiny bit further. There, I think that's okay. I'm going to take the lines off so that we can't actually see them, and I won't do anything else. So all we got to do is, if I just remove that with the left control and the full stop again, it's now lined up. And then all you got to do is press the left control W to activate and deactivate the GPS each time that you want to use it. So let's just start going, and it should just line up and allow us to keep running. So we can take a good look at our machine here, running along quite nicely, and it will keep it all in a dead straight line, or it should do, all the way up through. And it's actually, I'm thinking it will start collecting up that next windrow in a minute. It looks like it's not quite reaching. Oh, there we go. It's going to start taking some of it now, and hopefully that side won't go any higher. This is looking good. I quite like this. So yeah, I did have a little bit yesterday in cab, and I had quite a few people say they didn't like it. I didn't actually have anyone, was it yesterday or it might have been the day before, I can't remember now. I didn't have anyone say that they would rather see more in-cab stuff. So it would appear that people who like the in-cab driving are not regulars on this channel, purely because I don't like the in-cab driving, and so I will limit it. I'll do it occasionally just for those people who like to see it, but yeah, generally I won't. And I was asked again in the comments, why do I dislike it so much? And it's it's purely down to the realism thing. I know this is a game, and it's you know, it's a simulator in that. So it's kind of, we're playing a game, but at the same time, it's supposed to be simulating real life. And for me, like I said yesterday or day before, whenever it was, I can't remember now. To me, it doesn't simulate real life being in the cab, because I've spent so many thousands of hours in the cab. It just doesn't feel right. It's the feel of the whole thing is just completely wrong. So I'd like to avoid doing that as much as I possibly can. Whereas here, I have seen tractors go past, and this looks more realistic to me than this view here, because this view is flat, right? I can't see 3D. I don't have depth. I don't have peripheral vision. I should be able to look there and see there and there. I would drive along with sort of basically facing this way. I'd have my hands rested there on the console, and I would kind of look that way there like that, and my peripheral vision would see where I'm going there, and I'd be able to see what I was doing out the back if I was doing a job that required constant surveillance out the back of the tractor. Not all jobs require that constant surveillance out the back of the tractor, so it's very much dependent on the task that you're doing at the time as to whether or not you would drive like that, or if you would just be looking forwards. And yeah, so it kind of, it would vary a little bit. Obviously, you always get a bit of variation. There's no hard and fast rules with farming. Farming is farming. You do whatever you've got to do to get the job done. That is probably the most important rule of all when it comes to farming, is you do what you've got to do. I know a lot of people that do all sorts of strange things. When you look at it, first off, when you look at something in farming, it kind of looks a bit odd, but then when you sort of have a look at their thought process and what they've got available to do the task, it suddenly makes perfect sense. And that's just the way it is. That's farming in general for you. And farmers out there who are watching this will probably be able to identify with that a great deal, that you do whatever you need to do, and sometimes the things you do don't appear to make a lot of sense unless unless other people are in that similar situation. Right, what we're going to do now is we come along here, and I'll come round the edge. I'm not going to get all that much raking done, really. We've done a little bit here and gone around the field a bit, but what I got to do next, right, I'm now going to... Ooh, I switched the GPS off then. Didn't mean to do that. So let's turn that one on, and now oh no, I don't want to do that. I want to do that, and I'm going to have to bring the lines up so I can mark it. Right, I think that's about where we're going. It does move ever so slightly as you get all the way down the field there, so I'm hoping that is kind of in the right place. Bring it over a little bit. Going to end up being 3 passes, isn't it? So maybe if we come out a little bit, just in case it's sort of wiggled up way down the line there, and then we can turn the lines off, cover it, and we're away. I have almost run out of time, so we'll carry on doing this. So yeah, next week we'll be spending probably the first 2 episodes harvesting silage. We're not going to just do that in one episode. It's a big silage harvest. I'm hoping to make a pile of money from this, and in part I'm also hoping that this is going to be a step towards us not having to do quite so many paid jobs off screen. I don't really want to spend all of my time having to do these paid jobs off screen in order to advance the series, so I'd like to be able to do something in the series that makes it feel like we're making some progress. I think that would be... It's kind of vital, I think, that we do at least appear to be making a little bit of progress with what we're doing. Right, we're actually going to be leaving quite a bit. I'm wondering if we're actually going to start hitting those trees up there now. It does look like we are. That's not very good. How can I avoid this? It was perfect down the other end. I wanted a straight line all the way down through. And that one tree there is going to be in the way. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to come off of the GPS and wiggle round. Okay, that was really, really bad. Look at that. Brilliant. Yeah, we're going to have to do another wiggle here. I was turning too much with my steering wheel. It kind of backfired a bit. And... over like that, come round these trees as well, and then we should be able to come back up here Re-engage the GPS, which is up there. Excellent. And that should see us down to the end, and then we can turn around and come back up the next row, and that next one should be a straight line all the way up. And if there's anything that's too far deviated from the first row, we can we'll just sort of tidy it up as we go then, won't we? So swing right round like that and set it going again. There we go. And we're going to get most of this one. Ooh, so close. And there'll be one more pass all the way up through. I think that there was a little bit extra further up than there was right down at this end. I can't remember how much I cut down here. It was like the field boundaries changed a little bit as we went along. And yeah, I've picked up some of that little extra wiggle on that one. Here we're clearing absolutely everything. So I'll probably just push that little bit there into one single row as we go up through. But I would actually... I'm thinking I'd like to keep this like this, in one big long straight row using the GPS, because then we could get the forager on here and hopefully do the same with the forager, so that we'll actually be able to get some good angles looking at the machine as we go up across the field. I think that would actually look pretty spectacular if we could do that. So I think we'll just run this exactly as it is all the way up, and then I won't interfere with this row for the final pass. I'll just sort of put that roughly where it is, I think. But I'll be doing that on my own. We've just about come to the end of this episode. I'll finish doing the raking. We've got a little bit there. We've got some down the ends of these fields. We've got a big field worth over there, and we've got another field way over there as well. Loads and loads of grass, so we're going to be doing lots of silage. I don't know how much we're going to end up with this. It would be nice if we could see beforehand how much we're going to end up with, but we'll dump it all into one of the clamps in there. I think that this is going to be a very profitable exercise in the end. I think it is going to really have proved worth it. But before I go any further, my weekly question for this week, obviously we are making this silage, and when I finish doing the silage, I will then need to sell it. So do you want me, when I come to sell it, to use the Kramer that we've got with a bigger bucket and put it all into the anaerobic digester like that? Or would you rather... I'm just turning this one off so that we don't knock the tops of those bigger rows. That's all. Actually, now that I think about it, no, we'll just do it like this. I'll manually do this little bit. So yeah, or would you rather I used conveyor belts and set up some conveyor belts all the way from the silage clamp and in? We'll sort of basically get a selection of conveyor belts and use them like that. I think I've done it on the time-lapse series, and I think I actually did it on Goldcrest Valley as well. We did a bit with the conveyor belts, and it does work really well, and it is realistic. A few people have said that conveyor belts aren't very realistic. Well, I've actually sort of done a little bit of research, and I have seen conveyor belts being used for picking up silage. Now, the collection bit on the end of the conveyor belt is obviously a little bit different than what we've got here. But yeah, it sort of basically it chews off the face of the silage clamp and puts it straight onto a belt and runs it back through. It did look pretty cool. I can't remember where I've seen the video though, so you'd have to sort of look it up a bit. But you also see it with Grim with what are they called? Sugar beet. They have a similar thing. They've basically got this little thing on the end of the conveyor belts that picks up sugar beets from a big heap, and it allows you to sort of move it around to collect it all up. It did look very cool. I was quite impressed with the thing when I watched it. So yeah, there's those two options: the conveyor belts or the Kramer bucket. It's your vote. It's your game. Head into the comment section down below. Let us know which one you want and why. And of course, don't forget to actually cast your vote in the top right-hand corner. Mouse over and click on the little white circle. If you've enjoyed this episode, then please head down below and give us a like, and if you really enjoyed it, please tell your friends all about me, get them to come and watch as well. That would be awesome. But until next time, thank you very much for watching. This is Frithgar. Goodbye, and see you later.